Alright guys, so finally got around to making the video explaining my thought processes behind the game, and hopefully some of that will help you decide some important choices. So what we're going to start off with is staging. So which heroes should you be using for staging? So that's currently what I've got up on the screen. Now, these are the heroes I use. So I use Bat, Luca, Hikari, Scud, and Pinky. Now, I'm not going to tell you that these are the best heroes to use and you should be using these, because they're not. So there is what considered to be the best heroes for staging are Bat, Luca, Hikari, Zack, and Musashi. The Grass Samurai guy, let's have a quick look. I think it's this one. And all of those are because those are the heroes that buff movement speed. But there's a very specific reason why I haven't used all 5 of those. So let me explain my thought process behind them, and then hopefully that will help you kind of see the heroes that you've got and which ones you can use to fit certain roles. Because when you start out, obviously you don't have that many heroes, and choosing the rarest hero obviously isn't always the best. When I started, I think my first epic was Alda here, and Alda is a very good hero, but not at staging. At staging, she's terrible. She has a very low movement speed, and I'll explain why that's important in a minute, but she is good at general kind of PvP and boss fights because of her 4th star ability that gives everyone critical damage. So, you know, you just have to remember that all heroes are good at different things. So, why is movement speed important to staging? Well, staging is about going from the left of the screen to the right of the screen. That's it. Damage doesn't really matter, because most of your damage is done using gold and leveling up and prism powers. And also artifacts are a big chunk of damage. So for staging, stars don't really matter. As you can see, my Pinky is only 4, because it's very hard to get Pinky medals. And, you know, and that doesn't really matter. Sure, I have to put a few more prisms into him, but not too much. As you can see, Scud is, you know, a little bit lower, but he's got effectively 2 stars, 1 normal star and 1 pink star. But there's only a 60 prism difference. So, to be honest, stars don't really matter, except for the the rare heroes. So Bat, maxed out, doesn't matter. However, Hikari maxed out will matter a lot. And that's because of the 4th star movement speed. So Hikari is especially good at staging because it gives movement speed to the entire team, whereas all of the others just give movement speeds to themselves. So if Hikari was 7 stars, he would give, I think it's 120% movement speed, because he's currently 5 plus 30 plus 30. Cool. So that would give 120% movement speed to the entire team. So that's the only time that stars matter for staging. So if you have 0 heroes that are 4 star, it doesn't matter what your team is, basically. Just choose generically high movement speed characters. And those characters are characters like Bat. And that's why Bat has been on my team since the beginning. Flying heroes, generally, pretty fast. Let's have a look. Let's find one. There we go. Sprout. Movement speed, 180. That's alright. Sure. Bluefish. 250. There you go. Bluefish. Common. War hero. 250 movement speed. Great choice for staging. The only reason that I've chosen Luca is, well, you get Luca free. Once again, 220 movement speed, just a little bit lower, but once you get Luca to 4 stars, you get that extra 25% movement speed, and then, you know, and then 50, 75, etc, etc. So that's why I use movement speed characters mostly for staging. It's because if you're playing online, all it matters is going left to right, and to do that you want high movement speed. So why Scud is the question, and why Bat? Because Bat's a common hero. Surely I should upgrade Bat to be Neko. I believe it's Neko that has the dark movement speed buff. Yep. So why haven't I upgraded those? Why have I kept Bat, and why have I kept Scud, who is not a movement speed, and Pinky? Pinky is also not a movement speed. So first we'll start with Bat. So I kept Bat because it's a common, so it's very easy to get the medals for. Like I said, stars don't really matter, but it is nice. I also kept him because he's a magician, so he can aim at flying units. If you go for all movement speed characters, the only one that can hit flying units is Zack, which goes in the fire slot. And I just like Bat. Is it so bad to like Bat? So why Scud then? Okay, because Scud is a very slow movement speed character in comparison. Ignore that, he's got the frenzy buff. But as you can see, he's quite slow. Pinky overtook him with ease there. So why Scud? So Scud is a bit weird. Scud was a bit of a trial and error for me. Like I said, Aldo was my first fire hero. I never really got Zack either. I'm quite low on medals for Zack, so I never really used him. So I spent a lot of time kind of experimenting with fire heroes, and eventually I experimented with Scud. And what I like about Scud in staging is the AoE. So because of staging, you have to kill multiple enemies, and that occasionally slows you down, especially with all these melee characters. So as you saw right there, it took a while to actually get to the orb, whereas Scud can just kind of bypass that and just shoot it down instantly, even if he's not aiming at it, because of that splash AoE. So that's one of the reasons I like that splash AoE. It helps against bosses, particularly the staging bosses where you're a bit close to the border of when to ascend. So the bosses don't die immediately. Maybe they take, 10 seconds. And in that time, maybe some enemies can spawn behind the bosses that are protected by the boss, but are killing your characters. Whereas the splash damage helps to remove those. That's a nice little quirk as well. But the final reason I use Scud is because Scud is amazing in PvP, and I don't want to spend the resources twice to level up him when he's amazing in PvP and kind of meh in staging. And then also leveling up, let's say, Zack, who's pretty good in PvP, and is fast in staging, but I still don't see the benefit of using him in staging. So that's my reasoning for using Scud. My reasoning for using Pinky is kind of similar to Bat. It's just a generically high movement speed character. He's ever so slightly faster than Voodoo Dagger, who I was using previously. So let's go have a check. Voodoo Dagger. Where's Voodoo Dagger? Here he is. So I was using Voodoo Dagger previously as my kind of common, and he has 220 movement speed. Pinky has how much base? 230 movement speed base. So he was just a slightly bit faster. He's still that rogue, and his 4-star gives attack and defense to the rogues, which also affects Luca. So that's a nice little synergy. I could swap him out for Musashi, but Musashi has a very low base movement speed, so even with that 25%, you're still slower currently. So Maybe if I get Musashi to 7-star, then I'll consider it, but for now, Pinky. Of course, Pinky was a limited time hero that very recently came back in a chest, but now that's gone, so he's probably going to be gone for quite a while. If you're a newer player and you didn't pick him up, then, you know, Voodoo Dagger. Voodoo Dagger I went quite far with until Pinky came out. And, you know, just a generically high speed movement character. That's all you need. So, advice against choosing certain characters. So, if you choose all of the best characters, which is, you know, let's say Bat, Luca, Hikari, Zack, and Musashi, you've then got 1 common, 3 rares, 1 epic. So getting the medals for those could be quite difficult, especially if you're a newer player. So if you go the kind of beginning route that I took, which was Bat, Luca, which you get for free, Hikari, because really good for that movement speed, and then say you choose a generic fire hero, or let's say Zack. Let's say you have Zack for the fire hero, and then you have Voodoo Dagger for the grass hero. Then you've got 2 commons, 2 rares, and 1 epic, and that's a lot easier to balance your medal gains around. You'd probably want to prioritize getting Hikari to 4-star, because that's when, you know, he really starts becoming good and benefiting the whole team, whereas all the others just benefit themselves. So yeah, so that's kind of the journey I took with staging heroes to end up at this final goal, which I'm quite happy with. Obviously, movement speed only really matters if you're playing actively, so you've got the game loaded up, you've got your ×2 on, you're just watching it through. If you're offline, it doesn't matter, so choose whoever you want. Yeah, so those are my staging choices. Hopefully that's made it clear. If you've got any questions about certain heroes, I'm not just going to say, if you say a question like, oh, should I use X, then that's not a good question. I can't answer that, because it depends entirely on your team. You want a good balance, especially if early on, you want a good balance of commons and rares and epics. You probably only want 1 epic if you're early on. And I would suggest that be Hikari, just because it affects the whole team. Because you want to keep those medals quite balanced out, because early on, stars do kind of matter, until you start hitting those really powerful artifacts. So, artifacts. Let's go talk about artifacts. We've talked about artifacts. So, these are the current artifacts I'm going on. I've got a few. But if you're a newer player, you definitely won't see any of these. But you're more likely to get these lower artifacts. So you can see actually which ones I used when I was going through the stages. That's quite nice. So let's have a look. Let's see what I did. So attack for all heroes makes sense, right? What else? Reduce the cost of upgrades for the village. That also makes sense. Means you can get the gold better. I didn't do any of these. I guess they didn't matter, or I just progressed enough. And then the Soul Sword is just the natural upgrade for attack, and increase the rewards from dungeons. That's quite interesting. That was probably me testing, seeing what artifacts are good. Yeah, so that's interesting. And then this is the boss artifact that we'll talk about later. So then we move on to tier 3. So obviously, as you get better artifacts, you rank them up, and then you just, you know, get better ones. Which is actually where the resource rewards from dungeons matters, because you use the resources from the dungeons to get new artifacts. So that probably explains that one. But there are other various artifacts that I didn't try, like reducing the cost of upgrades. You know, attack of specific characters rather than all can be useful. Just death attack for each element, I guess. Yeah. Cool. So the early artifacts are kind of basic. They get you used to, you know, what artifacts are. So these are all boss ones, so we'll talk about those later. Anubis, reduce money, reduce production. Duration is very interesting. So if we go to the village, now reducing the production duration makes your shops go faster. So if you're a newer player, your very first shop, I think it takes a minute. Now, I've got so much production duration minus that it's actually instant. But that doesn't matter that it's instant, because I've gotten to the point where even if this is going ridiculously fast, it basically means nothing. So look, I'm already up to the ZZ money, and this is giving me thousands. So even if I leveled it up, it would be completely inefficient. Back to the artifacts. What else did we try? So yeah, shop. I think negative shop duration, and this was also a production increase. So I thought this was quite good, especially because you're active. When you're playing actively, the shop durations and the gold amount that you get is much more impactful than when you're playing offline. Because when you're playing offline, you only get the gold from the auto collects. Whereas if you're playing actively, you can skip a few levels, get the next shops faster, and all that kind of thing. So if you're playing actively, time artifact I would recommend. What else? Again, production duration, and then there's an attack for all heroes, etc., and then one for each element. So this is where you start seeing artifacts that do more than one thing. So the attack of water and defense of water. Cool. Now, 4 stars. 4-star artifacts are important, because when you level up a 4-star artifact, you get a stone, and those stones are required to buy 5-star artifacts. These little blue ones, art stone tier 4s. And then when you max out a tier 5 artifact, as you can see by all the little medals, you get a stone for a tier 6 artifact. Ta-da! And then so on, you max out the tier 6s to get one for tier 7, etc, etc. So tier 4 artifacts are probably where you're going to spend most of your time, especially for like the newer players. You're going to be building these up, you're going to keep them for quite a while. Look, there was only one that I didn't end up maxing, which is the fire attack one, and you will probably get the entire set of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 artifact slots is not too hard to come by. So yeah, see, you could probably just equip all of these. Goat God, really good for production duration and village production. Axe also does production duration, so if you're a very active player, you can go for those. If you're less active, just get the damages. Sure. And then eventually you'll start moving on to these 5 stars, and the 5 stars are important because the 5 stars come with set bonuses. So this is the Midas set. This is the only 5-star set that I decided to keep, and this is because it gives prisms. So you get 30% extra prisms every time you ascend. Amazing. Staging is all about prisms. You just want as many prisms as you like. Okay, so that's why I've kept the Midas star, just for that 30%. It also reduces production duration by 100%, and that's just the set bonus, so you have to have all 3 of these to get the set bonus, and then these are the stats for the individual artifact. So defense all, and then this is attack all, and health for all. So really good set, very important, and that's why I've kept them. And then these are all your elements, so you've got your water, your fire, your grass, your light, your dark, and then you have your defense with a little bonus. You have, you know, attack, and then also health. Here it is. One thing to note, I believe it's the fire one. It might be tier 6s. Yeah, okay. So in tier 6s, for some reason, the Phoenix helmet gives attack for everyone. I don't know why. because I don't think it, yeah, the 5 stars didn't do it, but sure, it's a good, I'm not gonna complain. And so much like the Midas set in tier 6, we have the gold set. This gives 50 prisms per send, and it's basically an upgraded version of the Midas set. It does exactly the same thing. Attack, defense for everyone. Cool. And then, again, you have the elemental ones that give you attack, defense, various bonuses if you have the whole set. So yeah, so the main important ones, the Midas set. I mean, this is quite endgame artifacts. The attack for everyone, and all stats, the gold set. And then what I'm currently working on, which is taking me a very long time, is the sacred set. And that's, again, the next upgrade. You attack for everyone, more prisms, princess dream duration, health. You know, it's just the upgrade. It's the final form, if you like, of 7-star artifacts. Something to note is, you can see here, the maxed 6-star attack bonus, 17,000. The level 1 7-star attack bonus, 17,000. And this is a pattern that goes pretty much throughout the entire levels. The max of the lower star is pretty much the same as the level 1 of the next tier. Now, if you're curious about how much resources a gold set takes, I can show you. It's 8 trillion. So yeah, so this is why it's taking me a long time, because these also cost, unsurprisingly, about 8 trillion. So yeah, I am just gonna be right back. Massive unprofessionalism right there. Alright, I am back. This video has gone on already longer than I was expecting, and we're still only talking about artifacts. So then, so like I said, as you can see, the artifacts are your main source of damage. I mean, these two alone are giving me 34,000% damage to everyone. So when you start to put it like that, if we go back to our heroes, you can see that, you know, all of this bonus would be from artifacts and runes. The stars don't matter. I'm getting, you know, plus 100,000% on the base damage that the stars give me. It doesn't matter. So that's why, you know, for the most part, using common heroes is fine. The stars don't matter. You only care about movement speed, effectively. So hopefully I've explained that. We will briefly talk about this. Well, hang on. Why have you got 10 slots and you only use 5 of them? Very simple. I don't want to split my prisms. You only need 1 person per element to kill a boss. There's no point using these. There was some theory behind some stuff. I think it was Silent or someone that likes to use 4-star heroes that are unprismed, that give a good buff, so like Cage, to make all enemies have half HP, and maybe that'll help staging. I haven't played around too much with that, but I think just the fact that they're there will lower the speed more than they gain the speed, because there's the chance that your useless hero will spawn in first. And then you've got to wait that extra couple of seconds for the next one to spawn, and that could slow you down overall more than the 50% buff, because if you think about it, that 50% buff will only actually be effective towards the end of your staging, so when you're reaching your maximum stage, whereas it will continually be spawning throughout all of those. So for example, my maximum stage is about 6200, so that cage would only be effective for maybe the last 20. So he would be slowing me down for, you know, 6,000 stages. That's to me, that doesn't seem worth it. But it is a interesting idea that, you know, it might be worth experimenting. So yeah, so, you know, don't be afraid to just trial and error some heroes and time how long it takes to go a stage. Or 10 stages for consistency. So yeah, so that's why there's only 5 heroes. Now, got to get those flues. So we've talked about heroes. We've kind of talked about the gold. I think the gold is quite self-explanatory. You just, you know, you ascend, you go pretty much until the auto ascend, and then, you know, get as much gold as you can before it starts to slow down, and as soon as it slows down, click that ascend button. And so I'm not going to go too much into the villages. There is something worth talking about, which is shop level. So if I go here, it says shop level plus 300, new shop level 1308, and that just means you start off with, one, in my case, 1308 shop levels. So 50, 50, 50, 50, blah blah. So it just goes all the way until it auto collects, until it runs out, which I think for me, I mean, it's probably here because that's the point at which I've given up auto collecting. So yeah, so there, it ends in 58. So for me, I get all of these free every time I ascend, which is nice because it kind of kick starts your early game. So let's transition to boss artifacts, and the reason we're transitioning to boss artifacts now is because of this samurai helmet, and that boss artifact gives you shop bonus after you ascend. It gives you 408. Look at that seamless transition. So boss artifacts, why are they good and what are they used for? So boss artifacts, instead of using normal resources, they do a little bit. So you'll see this one uses the light resources from dungeons, but it also uses extra resources in forms of these light bulbs, these radiators, these nuts, and these all come from the light boss Astro Lab, and likewise there's different resources for Frostwing, who is our current boss, and the Gunlord, the Dark Boss, the King, which is the Fire Boss, and the Samurai, which is the Grass Boss. So if you've joined a guild, like my fancy guild here, Chill Squad, then every few days you get some bosses. As you can see, there's like a 1-day rest time, and the bosses generally last for 3 days. So currently we're on Frostwing. I actually have my energy maxed out, so we can do some attacks to kind of show you. Now, so you go to fight Frostwing, and what you have to do is you have to kill 3 monsters and then Frostwing appears. I mean, our guild isn't basic, so hopefully you should all kind of understand how this process works. You can search for a boss, which I'd recommend doing if you're a lower level and maybe you're having difficulty fighting this boss, as this, because we're towards the end of the event. These are quite difficult bosses, and every time you attack a boss you get a bit of extra damage. So as we can see, this one here, I personally get 0% damage because I haven't attacked it for 0 hunts, but the guild members have attacked it 4 times to give me a total of 160% damage. So if I click battle here, I get plus 160% damage on the 100 energy. I can also attack for 300 energy, which will do 560% damage. Now, the base 300 energy attack is worse than doing 3 single energy attacks. However, if you need that extra oomph to get going, so for example, if you do a 100 attack and your entire party would get wiped in like 5 seconds, then maybe it's better to do the 300, because you get that extra strength to keep you alive. And maybe if you're short on time, the 300 could be worth it. It's not a large amount less damage, but it is a little bit less damage if you want to be super efficient. However, there is one time that is not the case, and that is when Star Fever is active. So Star Fever is this little gauge at the bottom. When we get 1000 total battle stars, the guild leaders can activate it, and for 25 minutes you get a 200% damage boost. Now, while that 200% damage boost is active, for some reason, and I'm not sure why, but 300 energy gives you plus 7000% damage, which is more than 3 single attacks. Good to know. So what we're going to do here is we're going to battle the weak one. I shouldn't be, because I should be taking out the big ones, but just to get it over with real quickly, we're going to battle the weak one, and boom, job done. So now we've done our 3 bosses. Frostwing has appeared, and then we can battle Frostwing. So here we go. So this is my team for Frostwing. We got Bat, we got Sprout. Sprout is really good. Sprout is ridiculous for Frostwing, to be honest. Oh, I've lost my times too. Whoops. So yeah, Sprout is ridiculous for Frostwing because you get the flying buff, you get the magician buff, you get the grass buff. It's insane. Anyway, as you can see, very high level boss. It's killing even my stuff. We're also not on ×2, which is something you should definitely do for bosses. And I will demonstrate why you should as soon as this boss fight is over. But basically, on ×2, not only do you doubly stage faster, but you also actually kill the boss faster. And the ×2 does not affect this timer. So, that fight took 45 seconds. What we're going to do is we're going to go to the shop, go to the items. Luckily I've got a saved up one so you don't have to watch an ad. But we're going to whack that ×2 on. We're going to go back to the boss, and then let's attack again. And you'll see that that timer is going down at still 1 second a second, obviously. But if you look at our cooldowns on our ultimate abilities, they're going down twice as fast. So what this means is the whole battle is going twice as fast, but you still get 45 seconds. It's a free double damage, effectively. Assuming that all your heroes survive. This is a bit rough because we are so high on levels. And all bosses come with innate damage resistance, which is different from armor. So armor for normal heroes is effectively damage resistance, but you can remove the armor and deal more damage using various hero abilities. Like the Dark Knight has a 4-star ability that reduces the enemy's team of armor, and that makes all your characters do more damage. But bosses, not only do they have the armor, but they also have innate damage resistance. So even if you strip all of that armor, they will still take a certain percentage less damage resistance. Frostwing has the lowest damage resistance, which I think is 75%. And I believe the others are around 80%, 80 or 90% damage resistance. And that's why I don't really care for armor reduction heroes, because I don't think it matters because of that damage resistance. It's still going to take a long time to kill. So yeah, so if you're having trouble with a boss, there's this little button that I missed, lower level. You can scale the boss down. So let's scale it down to 20 because 20 will be easy. And as you see now, it's got, 10 billion health instead of 227 trillion. So, you scale it down to 20 and then we'll attack it. And then it's gone. And it scales your damage back up. So even though that I killed it with 100% and got 3 stars, I didn't do any total damage, but I was able to get those 3 stars, which helps towards filling up the Star Fever. It also means, you know, it's easier for lower level players to contribute on higher bosses. So if you're a lower level player in the guild and you need to contribute and you're finding it hard against this level 44, I mean even I'm finding it hard against this level 44, you know, use the lower level button. It's good. You still got those stars and you still get rewards. It's perfectly fine. So talking about rewards, so as we were discussing earlier, you attack the boss, you get rewards for the artifacts. So when do you get those rewards? So if you kill a boss, we have actually killed one, so we can go have a look. You should get a little mail, and in here it will say gift blah 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 defeated by blah blah blah. You claim this, and usually you get guild coins, but you can get little tiny chests, little frostwing chests, and then you can come down to, I can't remember where it is, but you can go somewhere. Event shop, it's here. Yeah, and you'll see them down here, and you can open them. And if you open those chests, you get these kind of rewards. And you can see all the various items for each hero. So yeah, so you also can get those rewards by fighting the boss. If you fight a normal boss, you only get guild coins. But if you're actively fighting Frostwing, let's give it a shot. Let's see if we can do it. Then there's a chance that he can just give you a Frostwing reward. So either the scaly gem things, I don't know what they're called, or the claws, or whatever. So we'll wait 30 seconds for this fight to be over. We can have a little bit talk about ultimates and crushers. So crusher heroes, like Mr. Groovine here, are heroes that are specifically designed against the bosses. They do 3 times more damage and have 3 times defense and HP against their respective bosses. There's one for each class. Groovine is the glass one. And Groovine is particularly cool because he has this little ultimate. What this ultimate does is it makes every non-fire and non-grass hero deal grass type damage. So as you can see in this little bracket, our bat, which is our biggest damage dealer, because of Groovine's little buff, has done an extra 500 billion damage. It's basically doubled his damage just because of this little grass buff. So that's cool. Don't underrate that ability, especially as a newer player who doesn't have all grass heroes. You can use that to make some of your water heroes, some of your light, some of your dark heroes deal grass damage. So yeah, I didn't check the rewards, but hopefully watching on the video we got some of those rewards and you saw what I was talking about. You can buy the crushers here, crusher chest here. It gives you a little explanation that they have 3 times. But yeah, Groovine, he's groovy. Alright, what else was I going to talk about? Let's go back to the boss artifacts. So now we've talked about how to get the boss artifacts items. Let's talk about some of the good boss artifacts. Straight up, the samurai is ridiculous. All of his artifacts are amazing. Move speed of heroes, really good for staging like we talked about before. But the big one is the Cloak of Speed, and the Cloak of Speed increases the game speed. Now, game speed is effectively what happens when you use a ×2. When you use a ×2, the game's speed is increased by 100%. So this doesn't just affect movement speed of going left to right, this affects everything. Attack speed, animations, everything. Super important, really good. Game speed, super important. And we'll talk about that a bit more later when we talk about the library. What else is also really good? is Frostwing's ability. Frostwing has 2 Prism artifacts. This one max out at plus 100%, and this one is barely at 100% and still going, but obviously takes a while to get there. Prism's really good for obvious reasons. What else have we also got? Astro Time increases offline speed. Pretty nice. Obviously, I got these last because I was quite an active player in the early stages, so I didn't spend too much time offline. And if I did, I could easily use a Princess's Dream to make up for it. Soul artifacts. So the soul artifacts are just buffs. These are actually quite late game artifacts, despite being able to get them really easily. Now they act a bit weird. So you know, if you look here, plus 22,000 attack. That's okay. If we go to our normal artifact, where is it? You know, our gold Gryffindor gives 17,000 attack. So this is, you know, marginally better than the max Gryffindor. Well, this is level 5. But the reason this is an end game artifact is it's very weird. But the soul artifacts are based on all of your heroes. So the more you evolve your heroes, the more damage you get from Soul Hand, and the more heroes you get in general, the more damage you get from Soul Hand. So for you guys, maybe some of the lesser experienced players who haven't been playing as much, don't have that many heroes, all the heroes are kind of low level, the Soul Hand probably gives very little damage compared to normal artifacts. But as you can see, for me, who has very slowly been, you know, building up that hero repertoire, it's become a very good artifact at low level, just because there's so many, you know, 7 stars, etc, etc. So they're very interesting in that they scale. So yeah, and then you've got like things like Frenzy Hero. Frenzy is, we saw it earlier, you get double movement speed, double attack speed. Really, really OP status, which is why it's such a low percentage chance. Don't forget to click your chest. There goes Pinky. Pinky had it just then. They get like a glowy outline. Yep, Bat had it that time. You generally notice because they move ridiculously fast. There we go. Lucas got one. But yeah, Frenzy, ridiculously good power. But in staging, doesn't particularly matter. The double movement speed is nice, double attack speed is nice, but so yeah, we have consumables. I'm not going to go into those. They're pretty self-explanatory. You get a buff for time. I don't really care about them, as you can see by the fact I've still got like what, Halloween cookies, Candy Frenzy. Yeah, sure. Cool. They're consumables. They exist. They do things. What haven't we talked about? While we're still talking about ascending, every time you ascend and you fill this bar up, you go up a player level. When you go up a player level, you get a little thing to spend in your library. Now, libraries are like permanent increases. So the first time you level up, you get a blue one, then a green one, then a yellow one, then a pink one, and then a red one, and then a grey one. And then it loops back round. I believe that's the order. So I mean, you can see what I've done here, but this is kind of very much down to playstyle. I mean, blue, you don't have a choice, you put it in Prism bonus. That is. Green, I actually ignored skip stage because, as I discussed earlier, game speed is ridiculously good. It just affects everything. So get game speed. That's like non-negotiable. Prince's Dream duration, I don't care about, so I went with general offline speed. The reason I don't care about Prince's Dream duration is because I forget to use them and have 115 of them left. So don't be like me, use your Princess's Dreams. They're really good. So, yep. So maybe then, if you're using them a lot, you can do the Dream duration, but I don't think it matters. Most cases, especially early on, if you use a dream, you're gonna, you know, finish it pretty quickly before the 4-hour duration. You'll get to your max stage. So yeah, so I went for offline speed for that one. Dungeon tickets and rewards. This is a very bespoke one. So what I did with this is I basically saw, okay, I'll do some dungeons. Alright, how many tickets do I generally go through? If I'm on too much, then I don't care about the max tickets. If I'm playing very actively, I want more rewards. If I'm, you know, playing more offline, I want more max tickets. You know, that comes to playstyle. You could honestly put in either of these. If you play, like, if you're so active that you don't ever have max dungeon tickets, go full dungeon rewards. That just makes sense. You know, if you come on once a day, sure, maybe you want more max tickets. So I never really found a good balance for those. I just kind of upgraded them as I felt was right. And the same is for guild energy max and guild charge speed. I went a bit more into charge speed because generally I kind of, you know, use all my energy before I go to bed, and then you wake up in the morning, I've got full energy again. Alright, increase the guild energy max. And I did that until, you know, I was waking up with, you know, 1190 energy instead of 1200. So then, you know, increase the recharge speed. Okay, well now then I have to increase the energy max again. But so that's why I went on charge speed, because I was emptying my energy quite quickly. But again, it's down to playstyle, just like the dungeon tickets and just like expedition rewards. So these 6 are kind of like, do what you will. They don't affect the game too much. You know, if you need more heroes, get more heroes. If you want more rewards, get more rewards. So that's a library. I mean, you can reset it for 30 if you want to, but that's just what I've done. Feel free to experiment. What haven't we talked about? Guild shop. Don't forget to buy your 300 energies while Star Fever is on. I think that's pretty much it for the solo content. So let's talk about the PvP. We'll talk about daily dungeons first because it's quite simple. You do a daily dungeon, you enter, you go to the highest one that you can do, you kill the boss, and you get rewards and also medals. Now, what you might find is, as you try to level up artifacts which use these danger dungeons, the gold set uses dark and light, and also light. So if you're like me, who focused those artifacts because they gave buffs to everyone, what you'll actually end up doing, and this is quite funny, but if you look at my dark heroes, look, we got 7 stars. You know, the lowest is what, 1, but that's a legendary hero. Exclude him, we have 3, which is a blitz hero, so he's only around at certain times. Everyone else is 4 or 5, so quite good. We've got 3 max heroes, much the same for light. You know, the lowest is the 1 legendary, and then the lowest is 4, and that's on a new blitz hero. This is the newest blitz hero that was released. I bought a few chests for him, which is why he's at 4. So, you know, all of these are very high level, because I focused so much on those daily dungeons. And then we go to water, which I have not focused on for daily dungeons at all, and we see that the highest is 5 star. And this really emphasizes how important getting those medals from daily dungeons is. If you can do a lot of daily dungeons and get a lot of medals, I think you get more medals than you get from chests that you get from free flues. You know, I think people seriously underestimate how good daily dungeons are for medals, especially when you have like the ×2 daily dungeon event. We're currently in double flues chest, but yeah, and that's how I've ended up with such a high weighting between light and dark, which is good because their weaknesses are light and dark. So it doesn't really matter that I've got such a big shift in weighting. But if I had like only water heroes level 7, then when I come up against grass heroes, I'm going to be at a massive disadvantage. But that's not quite the case for light and dark, because they're super effective against each other, which is cool. So, you know, that's something to keep in mind. Daily dungeons for getting medals are really good. A bit of end game information. If you have 7-star, you stop seeing the daily dungeon medals for them. So if I did a light one, which I just did, I won't get any of these medals, I won't get any one-eye medals, big eye medals, I won't get any, you know, 4 medals, because I've maxed them all. If you're curious what happens when you've maxed a hero, and you manage to get medals from them, you get these little kind of legendary bits. By getting 400 you get a legendary chest, and that's how you get a chance of the legendaries. 1 in 3 chance of getting one of the legendaries. Obviously mine are only 1 star, so I've opened 4 legendary chests. One of them was a miss, but the other 2, you know, 10. And if you're ever curious about how to get a hero's medals, boop, click the hero, click the chest, silver chest, fortune chest, guild shop, not today, daily dungeons, magic medals, and that's how you get medals. If you click on one that is a limited event, so Pinky, chest Lunar New Year, that was when he originally came out. Guild shop will only show up if you own the hero, so you can't get guild shop medals if you do not own the hero. And daily dungeons once owned for the same reasons. So yeah, so it's very important just to get like 1 of each hero, because then you start getting the medals from the daily dungeon. Same with One Eye. One Eye is a Crusher chest. You get that 1 Crusher chest, and then all of a sudden you start getting One Eye medals in daily dungeons. As for chest value in general, I think Crusher chests are very good value for money. You get 90 heroes, one of which is guaranteed to be good against the boss. In fact, they're all guaranteed to be good against the boss, but one of them will be really good against the boss, for only 120 flues. So I think, you know, I spent a lot of time, especially early game. Crusher chests were my choice of chests to buy with flues. Obviously, get those hero slots first. Hero slots, maybe some artifact slots as you go. Get those one-offs Crusher chests, maybe 3 Crusher chests to get it to level 2. No, level 3 instantly, 3 stars. That's not that big a deal. So yeah, the Crusher chests are quite good. Premium chest, never bought one. I think these are pretty bad value for money. The heroes that you get are kind of meh, they're just rares. You can get rares from Crusher chests, and you get specific rares. Fortune chests. Fortune chests, I think, are the end game chests. These are what I've been buying as of late. So what you do is you wait for the epic that you kind of want. So if this was Hikari, I'd be like, yeah, buy that fortune chest. I won't at the moment because I'm a bit low on gold and flues, and I need to save up for artifact slots. But you know, during this double flues from chest event, I'll get a chunk of flues, and you know, maybe a Hikari will come in here and a Luca in the rare slot, and I'll be like, yeah, mash that fortune chest. But yeah, I think these are only good for finding specific heroes, especially epics, which are a lot rarer than most. If you want a specific epic heroes, I think wait for the fortune chest. But I wouldn't buy these generically. Like, these characters as they are don't really matter to me. So I wouldn't spend, it wouldn't be worth that 200 flues in that case. Because you do get 160, you get a lot of medals. But personally, don't buy them unless you're looking for a specific epic hero, or if you're close to 7 stars, or you have a 7-star common hero, and the common hero that is displayed is that which you have 7 stars, You can also buy them to get legendary medals to speed up your legendary progress, if you really want that legendary. So that's a couple of end game tips. I'm just going to use my magic medal. As for using magic medals, let's talk about that. So early on, I spent a lot of magic medals on epics. Things like Hikari to get to 5 stars, Scud to get to 5 stars, because those were my powerhouse characters, you know, that I wanted to get high because they're good for staging, they're good for arena. You know, maybe every now and then, if I was 10 off the next stage, I'd, you know, throw one in a rare hero just to get it over the edge into that next star territory. But now, as I've gotten more into the late game, I've started pouring them into commons, because you get 30 for commons, whereas you'd only get 4 medals for an epic. And as you know, 4 medals when I need 400, and I'm, you know, most of the way through Hikari, it doesn't seem worth it. Whereas 30 medals for a common, which can help, you know, push me towards these legendary chests. And once I, you know, and not only that, because as we were talking about with the daily dungeons, oh shit, I hit the mic, sorry. But as we were talking about with the daily dungeons, once you max a hero, you no longer get the medals for it. So if I max out all of the common light heroes, which I'm, you know, getting close to, I've almost maxed out all of the dark heroes, then those daily dungeons will start giving me rarer rewards, because it can only give me rares. It can only give me rares and epics. So, you know, that's a kind of unforeseen bonus of maxing out 7 stars that you know, you might not be aware of. Okay, finally, arena. Best characters for arena. It's up to you. So this is my current defender setup. Wrong button. Now, arena is going to be tricky to explain because it's all about team building. And you know, if the majority of your heroes are lower than 4 stars, I don't think it truly matters that much. Just make sure you've got a good variety of jobs. So you know, you have like a barbarian to tank the damage up front. You've got a magician for DPS. You know, maybe you've got a stun character, a Merlinist for some heals to heal that barbarian. Because if your characters are below 4 stars, you don't have those team bonuses. So the team building is a lot simpler. Now, if you are above 4 stars, that's when it starts getting complicated, because then that's where you have to start thinking, okay, so what characters do I care about? Let's have a look at Magnus. You know, I want a barbarian. Is Magnus a good choice for a barbarian? Well, what's his team buff? He gives defense. Defense is good for a barbarian. Alright, you know, maybe I'll consider Magnus. You know, so let's explain the team buffs on my team. So, Bat, One Eye, Skeleton Giant don't matter. They're all commons. They have no 4-star ability. So these are just here for raw power. They're just here because they're my strongest characters. That's why they're in the team. And this is the defense team. So this is what I kind of use for generic defense. Okay, so 4. Why is 4 in the team? Let's check his abilities. Okay, so you know, he's a barbarian. So in theory he's tanky. He apparently has a stun and he can't get knocked back. Okay, so something I want to point out actually. If a character says it has a stun, doesn't necessarily mean it has a good stun. So let's look at Hikari. Because this is something that came up in chat not too long ago. Hikari has a stun, apparently. Can also evade splash damage. Innate to all samurais. Now, let's look at Hikari's abilities. First attack, no stun. Second attack, high chance of doing a critical hit, no stun. Ultimate has the stun, buffs movement speed. So, despite Hikari saying it has a stun, its stun is only on the ultimate, which you cannot use in PvP. So Hikari in PvP does not have a stun. And this is something to very, looking at the character sheet, oh, it's got a stun, oh, it's got splash resistance. Perfectly fine. However, just be aware, because it says stun, does not mean it will always have the stun. Keep an eye out for that. Anyway, okay, so why is 4 in the team? So 4 does have a stun. It says it has a stun, and he does indeed have a stun on his second ability. It doesn't say it has a stun, but it does. On the second ability, you rush through the enemies, you make them fall, you stun them a little bit. So that's, it should stay on there that it's a stun. And he buffs light heroes attack. So that's, so that's why 4 is in the team. He pushes forward with his second ability, stuns them all a bit. He gives all the light heroes attack. As you see, we've got a lot of light heroes. We've got the One Eye to do damage. We've got the Hikari can do damage. Tesla is a damage machine. So Tesla has a splash. Tesla also has a stun. So this, and she buffs herself a ridiculous amount of damage. So her first ability stuns 30% because of, I believe I've got some stun chance runes on her. So 39% to stun for 4 seconds just using her normal attack. Her special ball does an AoE stun for 109% for 4 seconds. And she has ridiculous damage. Tesla, insane. Really good character. She's also ranged, she stands at the back to deal with damage. Cool. So that's why Tesla's in the team. Tesla is our damage dealer. She also stuns. Really good. 4 takes the damage, stuns, pushes forward to get past those tanky enemies, and then attack the weaker enemies at the back, like the Tesla, if the opponent's team has a Tesla. Okay, so that, those characters have the light synergy. So that explains that portion of the team. Merlinus is in there for heals. Why use Merlinus instead of Vlad? Because our tanky character is 4. We also have tanky character of Skeleton Giant. But Merlinus, gives HP to light characters. We've also got Hikari as kind of second wave tank. Dodging that splash damage. With the, dealing out damage because of the 4 buff. Got extra health because of the Merlinus buff. So that's why we've got quite a lot of light and dark characters. As well as you've seen, they're just generally my highest power characters. So Scud. Why is Scud in the party? Let's have a look at Scud. So Scud's in the party because he buffs everyone's attack. And he does AoE damage. That's why Scud's in the party. Simple as. So why is Sorrow in the party? Now Sorrow is a bit weird. Sorrow is a crusher. The Dark Crusher. So it gets 3 times against the Slay Boss. But that doesn't matter in PvP. Now Sorrow pierces defense. Which is pretty useful. Means those annoying barbarians aren't as annoying. And she also has a stun on her second ability. 100%. But this always shoots the... and this is where the piercing damage is as well. But this always shoots at the weakest enemy. So generally, if you have a high level Sorrow, it will just one-shot your weakest enemy. Or their weakest enemy, I guess. I've gone against high level Sorrows in the past, and they have always been very annoying. Especially because she sits so far back. It's hard to get to her. So yeah, she does a lot of damage. She buffs Gunners 800%, which will buff herself and Scud, so there's a little bit of synergy there. So the only person we haven't discussed is Frost Queen. And Frost Queen is a bit of an outlier. So Frost Queen, I have just decided will be my CC character. So what she's going to do, she's got 37% chance on her normal attack. She attacks quite fast at 1. 1's about average. She has a multi-shot, so she can, attack multiple times. Of a 17% chance freeze for 2 seconds. That's not too bad. Ultimate doesn't matter. And she also gets a bit of AoE damage from the freeze explosions. So she's just there for a bit of CC. She can lock down a single character indefinitely, but not so great against multiple characters. You could replace her with some other characters. So, you know, in this particular arena, you know, Monkey King has double buffed. So, you know, Monkey King is also a CC character. Let's have a look. Spear actually has a chance to stun because of the Lancer's innate ability, which is something they don't mention, but Lancers can stun on each attack. 30%, there you go. So normal attacks and the combo attacks has 30% chance, and he gets attack per second, so he's attacking quite fast. 1, I guess. But he's got the double buff, so maybe instead of freezing, I replace, you know, for this arena, I replace it with the Spear, the Monkey King. Give me a bit more fire coverage. You know, other characters that I sometimes use is Cirque. Cirque was a limited time character, so you probably won't have her, but, you know, she can mind control an enemy for 5 seconds, which means you don't attack it, but it attacks its own enemies. That's a pretty useful ability, so even a low power Cirque can do a lot of damage. Yeah, so like team building for Arena is very much a look at the heroes you've got. Don't look at my team and assume this is the best team, because it's not. Like Hikari is kind of meh. One Eye can be replaced, a Big Eye even can be replaced for something. You know, Skeleton Knight could quite easily be Magnus. Magnus at level 7 would be better than Skeleton Knight because of that plus 4-star ability. You often see Arcanas because, you know, of the 4-star buff critical damage. That's a big deal. You often see Crushers. Most Crushers are good because you can get them high star quite easily. Furious has a chance to spawn a Frenzy. If you get a Frenzy on the right hero, that can win you arenas alone. You quite often see Leaf Blade, and you see Leaf Blade because he has this auto shield that when his life gets low, he'll just stay alive for an extra couple of seconds. And he also buffs the defense of the entire team. He's a very good hero at delaying. Alda again has critical damage, so you could see her. Who else have we got? Onyx. Onyx is a very good hero. If you have a high level Onyx, again buffs the entire team's attack. Has a spear, so you know what's 36% chance to stun on every attack. Does a lot of damage. Pretty good. Chaos, another barbarian that you can use to tank with. Buffs his own defense. He's the dark version of Magnus. There's a lot of heroes that you really just need to look at, see what heroes you've got that are good, and that you might want to start building into. So Zac, who we talked about, is movement speed. He has an AoE stun. Large radius. AoE stuns the entire enemy team. Pretty good. Ra, which I think is surprisingly underrated as a hero. Another limited time event, but buffs magicians HP attack and defense by, you know, 150. There's a lot of good heroes, and they all have their own uses, and you just have to kind of learn how the heroes interact with each. There's no set best arena team, especially when the buffs of arena changes so frequently. So let's go battle. So this is the basic team as you've seen before. Instead of One Eye, there's a Circe. I don't know how you pronounce her name, but let's go in with this team, right, and see how we do against a 900k hero opponent. As you see, like I said, we've got our barbarians up front tanking. We've lagged out quite a lot here. Don't know why, but 4 is being permanently stunned by the opponent's, you know, Frost Queen. And that's why we have a Frost Queen. Our Cirque has taken control of the Tesla, who is attacking their own teammate. Annoyingly, this has decided to lag out quite a lot. I am recording this on an emulator, not my phone. My phone does not lag out at all. So unfortunately, I don't think I'll be able to show you too many arenas because this is painfully excruciating. But as you can see, our barbarians are tanking the damage. We've lost 4, unfortunately, probably due to Sorrow one-shotting him. Our Merlinus is keeping up that heal on the barbarian. After 6 attacks for every hero, they'll do their second attack. And we managed to win. Just from the barbarians tanking, the people in the back doing AoE and single target damage, and the stuns coming through to prevent the enemies from doing too good a job. And that wasn't even taking into account the season buff of Lancers plus 200. So we'll go again, and male plus 200. I mean, we have some males. Okay, so, you know, maybe let's, instead of this time, you know, for this buff, let's get rid of our Frost Queen, stick in Monkey King, who's a, you know, does the same role. It's the same role, CC, but this time it's got the double buff that, you know. And then let's look at the enemy team. So the enemy team has what? A tank, a lot of shields, I don't know why. So, you know, they'll be up front absorbing damage. The Corkery is very strange. I guess he's their damage dealer. I think he has piercing. They've got the crit chance from the Dark Hero. They've got the frenzy chance from the Furiosa, which will be annoying. And then the heal. So it's a tanky lineup effectively. So, you know, maybe we don't care about Cirque. They haven't got much damage dealers on the back that we want to mind control. So, you know, they've got quite a tanky lineup. Let's throw in a Vlad to give our solo barbarians a bit more heal, because they're going to be taking all the damage on the front line. And, you know, let's see how that goes. Unfortunately, it's slowing down again. But, you know, oh look, that seems to have worked out better. We were attacking a weaker enemy. Oh, I'm not on ×3. Oh, no, I was on ×3. But yeah, and you know, it's just trial and error. Try a few heroes, see how they mix together. Make note of the buffs. The buffs are alright. You know, they're the equivalent of maybe an extra star. I'm realizing that this video is now like over an hour long, so forgive me. Now, unfortunately, Blitz, which is another PvP mode, unfortunately when I'm recording this, the Blitz has just closed, so I can't show you that, but the same team aspect, the team creation aspect that you have in Arena applies to Blitz. You want to be aware that your teams are balanced. You have a couple of tanky barbarians, a couple of damage dealers, whether they're archers or magicians, maybe a couple of supports, like, well, you probably want one support per team, so a Merlinus in one team, maybe a Vlad in the other team, a Cirque in another team, a Zac in another team. You know, I mean, there's a few more CC characters, so you can probably spread the CC characters out a bit more. But you know, just make sure that you've got a good balanced team. Right now, I think the meta is kind of tanky. A few patches ago, defense got buffed to take less damage, so you know, the battles kind of got drawn out a bit more, makes tanky characters more important, makes the healers more important, makes protecting those damage dealers a lot more important. You know, and you got to keep watch of those updates. Maybe a couple of heroes will get changed. The various jobs have different effects as well, so if the enemy's got a lot of splash damage, maybe you want to send in those samurais to dodge the splash damage. If there's a lot of, if the enemy has no stuns, maybe you want to send in the brawlers, because the more brawlers attack without getting stunned, the more damage they do, which can ramp up really quickly. So you know, take all these kind of things into account when you're building a team. Blitz, you have to make lots of teams, and it's unfortunate I can't show you mine, but I've done something interesting with Blitz that I don't think is optimal. I think I can adjust my teams a little bit more than I have, but I've thrown a couple of together that I just kind of don't really care about. They get me into the top 200 consistently. I'm not really fussed to super optimize every team, but what I've done is I have 2 mono teams. Now those are mono light and mono dark, and the reason I have mono light and mono dark is, as I've discussed previously, it doesn't matter. You don't really have a type disadvantage for going mono dark or mono light, because of the mirror match effectively of light are good against dark and dark against light, then even if they bring all dark to combat your all light, they're still going to be weak to your all light. And you know, going full all light and full all dark is a very lazy way of team building, because you get all of those light specific buffs. You don't even have to think about it. You get the damage from 4, you get the, you know, self damage from Tesla, you get the heals from Merlinus, you get the defense from the spear character, Joan of Arc. You know, you don't have to think about team building that at all. It's just kind of done all for you, and it's a fairly effective team. So I have those 2 teams, and they do quite well. And then for the remainder of my teams and Blitz tokens, I do a strategy that has one very high power character that preferably deals 8 AoE damage. For me that is Scud, but there are various other alternatives. There is the direct water equivalent, which is Pyretto. Where are you? Here. AoE splash damage, can pierce defense. You know, if anything, that's probably a better damage dealer than Scud, and buffs water attack instead of all team attack. So, you know, there's that. There's also various other non-gunner characters that deal AoE damage. Tesla deals AoE damage. A lot of characters' second abilities deal AoE damage, like Skeleton Knight. So when Skeleton Knight stomps his second ability, he stomps the ground near him and does like an AoE. But you know, there's also, you know, Monkey Mortar, which is the dark equivalent of Pyretto. You know, it's like a lot of these are kind of copy and paste heroes, with their element changed. It's only been recent updates that they've given kind of more unique heroes, such as, you know, the mind control from Zerg, the Necromancer summoning heroes, and things like that. So you can kind of, you know, boilerplate a team dynamic quite easily. So yeah, so, you know, one really good hero, in my case I use Scud, and then I have 9 fodders, which is annoying I can't show you, but it'll be, you know, these kind of characters, the 3 stars and the 4 stars. I still make sure the teams are balanced, so I have like, you know, a decent amount of melee characters to absorb that give me a buffer time before Scud starts dealing damage. So yeah, so that's how I kind of abuse the Blitz system, because the Blitz system tries to match you up according to your total power, and one good character can quite easily beat a load of bad characters or lower characters. So that's how I abuse the Blitz system. Try it out. Blitz, you very much want to be a big fish in a small pond. So if you have, say, 10 common 3 stars, do the Blitz, the lower level Blitz, because then those 3 stars will be really good. or at least will be equal. But if you put those common 3 stars against the 3 to 5 star bracket, they're practically useless. So, you know, don't be afraid to stick to the lower bracket and try go as high as you can in that lower bracket and ignore the higher dues. I very recently only myself started joining the highest level of Blitz, and that's only because I've gotten more 7 stars that I can kind of make a team out of. For a very long time I stayed at 5 star. Even if I could evolve to 6 star, I stayed at 5 star so I could use them in the middle tier Blitz. And I think that's a very, very good idea. So that you don't just kind of waste a 6 star hero doing nothing because you can't use them. Whereas if you kept them at 5 star, you get a bit more play with them in Blitz. I think that's kind of everything. Guild Wars. Guild Wars are very tricky as well, especially because we don't have one on, so I can't show you what happens in a Guild War. But I think we've started to learn. We've done 3 Guild Wars now. We've started to learn some very important things. The first thing, quite obviously, is be active and use your attacks. That matters more than everything. The second thing is to spread out the defenses, I believe is the best strategy. To have, you know, say the top 6 should all be in different towers, basically, is the easiest way of describing that. After that, I don't think it truly matters, but, you know, trying not to leave so many free attacks open is a good idea. Even if you put in a suboptimal team, a team, no matter how suboptimal, is better than no team. So that's important for defending. For attacking, I think we need to, on the other, like conversely, focus our attacks. So instead of, you know, everyone just attacking what they can, I think we need to, at the start of wars, choose high priority targets. Like the last war, the high priority target was the barbarians and the magicians, because those are typically 2 very good characters in PvP. Barbarians tank and do a lot of damage, so you want to reduce that bonus as much as possible for the opponents and gain as much of that bonus as possible for you. And magicians are generally DPS characters. There's like one magician that's a tank, and that's Ra, and that's why I love Ra as a character. Yeah, so those 2 were very high priority. In the end, we only managed to get the barbarian because, again, we focused our attacks too wide. So I think at the start of Guild Wars, I'm going to start, you know, inspecting what towers we've got. Luckily, the towers are set from the start of the Guild War. So at the very start of the Guild War, I can say, alright, these are our priorities to defend, and these are our priorities to attack, which most likely will be the same guild towers. You know, here's our top 3. Anything after that is fair game. But if I do that at the start of the war, you know, maybe one of the opponent's towers is practically undefended, and maybe I, you know, shift that up a priority after seeing that. So, you know, maybe doing it all at the start of the war is not the best idea, but waiting to see what the enemy has put in can give us tactical advantages. So, I mean, I could just send an email for both. Let me know any ideas. What else? What else about Guild Wars? Use your attacks. For the love of God, just use your attacks. Even if you're a new player with a single hero power, all you have is Luca. That's all you've started with. You still get free attacks to use on undefended towers, and those undefended tower attacks can make a difference, a big difference, especially if one tower only has 1 defending, because then you can use your free attack on the highest point free attack, which you should do anyway because you get the most points for doing nothing. Never attack the lowest because it's just not worth it. Just go for the highest free attack if you can. And And yeah, and you know, if only one person is defending a tower, you can then use all 3 attacks to get that tower to practically captured. And then it will only take me, you know, the highest member of the guild, to do one semi-okay attack. It doesn't even have to completely wipe out the opponents. I could use half good attackers because you can only attack with each character once. So I could use a suboptimal team. Maybe it doesn't win, but it can do the 40 points needed to capture the tower. So, you know, those 3 attacks can be very useful. So, but obviously, if you can defeat an opponent that is higher than a 3 attack, do it. Be aware of your characters can only attack once. Because on the first Guild War, that's what messed me up. I was like, oh, just send in my good arena team. And then I used all of my good characters, and then I was like, now what do I do? And I had to take like a good 20 minutes looking at all my heroes and, you know, doing that team building that I would do for an arena battle. You know, looking at, okay, so this hero powers synergies with this hero, and then okay, let's throw in this to make the CC, and you know, it was a lot more painful than saying, okay, I'll take these 3 from my normal team. You know, I'll take Merlinus, I'll take 4, and I'll take you know, One Eye, okay, as in the actual One Eye, not the big eye that I've been calling One Eye. So let me bring up One Eye. So I'll take those 3. You know, I get the 2 from my normal team, Merlinus and 4, that are reliably good, synergistic. We get the attack buff from 4, we get the health plus from Merlinus, we get 4's natural tankiness, we get the attack per second from One Eye, which is a generic good hero, but One Eye is also surprisingly good at tanking, because it has a high chance to just dodge an attack. So One Eye, surprisingly good at, you know, tanking damage. You know, so that can make up for a second barbarian that maybe I didn't have. Maybe instead of using my skeleton giant that I used previously, I could use, you know, Spike, another good barbarian. And, you know, that synergies more with the light buff. So, you know, just be aware of those general team building aspects when you're attacking. You know, take like 4 of your good team that synergize. So, you know, take your barbarian healer combo. Take your gunner combo, like my Sorrow and Scud. As, you know, the main damage dealers. So I'll use those 2 as damage dealers, stick them behind some, you know, barbarians that I haven't used previously, because it doesn't really matter what. Maybe the enemy has grass buffs, so I'll put them behind a Magnus that can tank even more damage, kind of thing. So yeah, for attacking, just keep those things in mind. Split your main team into 3 as a basic starter, and then fill in the other 6 with roughly similar characters that synergize. That's my advice for attacking Guild Wars. Or just use 3 attacks. You know, maybe you only have 20 good heroes. Use those 20 good heroes and then use your last junk on a 3 attack or wherever it is. Yeah, that's all the advice I've got, I think. Use 2 times. I'm not currently on it because I've been waffling on for so long. Flues chests, watch those adverts, especially during double flues. I'm not going to do it now because I don't want to subject my viewers to an advert for 30 seconds. Oh, pardon me. But, you know, flues chests now are a lot better than they used to be. Now they have a guaranteed minimum. So the first ones you open will be 5, then it will reduce to 3. Generally, because I don't want to watch too many adverts, I only do 5 and 3. Previously, gold chests used to be random and have no minimum, and they quite often gave you 2, and at that point I just didn't watch them because it wasn't worth it. So now you get those minimums a day. It's a lot better for newer players than it was for when I started. So take advantage of that. Again, ×2, always have that on. You know, it's worth it. One ad every 20 minutes, I'm sure you can manage. Yeah, use your guild attacks, use your helps. Actually, for the higher level guild members, this is kind of a bit geared towards Silent, Ice and MQ. But when choosing quests, I've kind of got a system. The first part of the system is help available. Helps gives magic medals, and magic medals are really good. They buff your heroes. So if helps is available, choose helps. That's, you know, rule number one. That's the first thing I do when I check. And everyone can contribute to helping. Really easy. And then the second thing, when helps aren't available, I do this. What I do is I go, boop, news. Oh, double flues in chest. Cool. We need to do a quest. Oh, collection. Cool. Chest 2. Let's go. That's what I do. I just try line it up with whatever event is going on at the time. So if there's a blitz on, do a blitz event. If there's a boss on, do a boss event. That's generally how I choose quests, because naturally people will be doing those quests because of the news and events. And I think that's worked quite well. So yeah, so that's a little bit of advice of how to choose quests if you're a guild member. This page, don't buy any of these with flues, not worth it. Not even ×3. If you want to do ×3, use guild tokens. There you go, you can get ×3s there. If you want to get XP to the guild, I can talk about that, because that's probably something most people haven't seen. But every time the guild levels up, we get one of these library orbs, much the same as the personal library, except you get different stats, and there's kind of a tree. You have to do these to do these, and you have to get to level 50 in Rogue to unlock this kind of thing. Yeah. We've gone into the Rogue tree because I thought that the Slayer bonuses don't really matter. Duration of Star Fever doesn't matter. Max energy may be okay. Plus 1% damage? Nah. Reload speed could be really good. Ultimate attack 10% may be okay. But all of those seem underwhelming, so I just went with prisms. Prisms are always good philosophy. So we've got offline speed and 2 in here just to unlock the ability to use prisms. And then full on prisms. That's what we're doing. More prisms. Yeah, so that's everything. If you've got any questions about possible things I haven't covered, like team building for bosses, so you can, you know, look here, Odin is weak against the ranged units. Alright. Power, what are ranged? Alright. Gunner, archer, gunner, whatever. He's also a light hero, so pick dark heroes. Cool. Maybe I should get monk. Yeah, you know what? Let's get rid of that. Put monkey mortar in there. That's probably better. I'll be honest, I do not keep these up to date as I should. I'd spent a lot of time, especially in the early game where you don't have that many good characters. You just use your best characters. Just use your best commons or whatever, whichever has the most characters. And I did that for a long time. And then it got to the point, you know, in the mid game where I was starting to unlock 5 stars and, you know, hero abilities started to matter, and I was like, oh, my boss teams are out of date. So I had to go through all of them one by one and update them all. And I'm to be honest, I'm probably due a 3rd one of those. Just like Alder is in here. Should Alder be in here? Maybe. For the critical damage. But I could use Arcana instead. I don't know. So I should probably keep those up to date. If you want to catch up with me, keep your bosses up to date. That's the top tip. Yeah, I think I've covered everything. It's an hour and a half's worth of instructions. I still need to do my daily challenges. Yeah, I think I've run out of things to talk about. I think we've covered the entire game. Oh yeah, something that most people don't realize is you can click refresh to get new reward types. So this will always give me whatever these are, relic heavy fighters, so long as I keep doing them. So it will do this one, it will give me the relic fighters, and then it will give me another relic heavy fighter quests. If I want to get dark gems, I would have to click refresh in the hope that dark gems show up. That's a tip that not many people realize. So if you've been sitting there going, why won't I get dark gems? That's why. I think that's it. I think that's all of my tips and tricks. Again, if you've got any questions, like when do I use consumables? I don't know. Whenever you want to use a consumable. Whenever you're about to ascend, use a prism thing. Cool. I don't know. I don't really care about consumables. It's a part of the game I've neglected, I'll admit. Runes, again, another part of the game I've kind of not invested too much into. There are a couple of obvious things, like my bat. Let's go back to my bat. So this is my bat. My bat just has damage. It deals damage, it attacks faster. That's it. For some reason, I decided to try Frenzy on Hikari. Why not? Scud, I have splash damage, but my splash damage primaries are not splash damage. And that's because the splash damage primaries are terrible, and the buff for the combined team. So look, this attack gives you plus 24% AoE, but having all three of these connected only gives plus 20. So I went for more important stats like attack per second and attack for the splash primary attributes, and then in one of these I have a plus attack AoE to, and another one to give me that, where is it? 70% extra range on my Scud splashes, which is cool. So that's another trick, in that if you want AoE, sometimes the best thing is not to choose the AoE runes. I don't know why they've done it like that. Luca I have not looked at. Pinky I just dodge, because that's kind of what Pinky does. Pinky dodges. Let's look at some random heroes. Merlinus. This is a common one that is a bit weird to rune up. So special heal does the caster's HP. So what you want is HP. Ta-da! But you also want attack per second. I mentioned earlier that attack per seconds, every 6 attacks they'll do their second ability. So if you want as many heals as possible, you want a lot of attack per second on Merlinus to get those heals out. And that's the same for various other support characters, like Cirque. I don't know why I have Vitality on Cirque. I just do. There's a lot of heroes to add runes to. Vlad is much the same as Merlinus, but instead of HP, his heal is lifesteal. So it depends on how much the bat's damage. So his runes are damage runes. Cool. Let's level up that rune. Cool. There we go. So that's, damage runes on Vlad. And the next one will be attack speed, because I want him to use that heal as quickly as possible. Characters like Skeleton Knight. So Skeleton Knight is designed to be tanky. That's what I use him for. So he has defensive runes. He could also have HP runes, but I have given him attack runes instead, because reasons. Like I said, One Eye, surprisingly hard to hit. So, I could give him dodge runes, and I probably should. but for now he's just got attack runes. Like, a lot of my characters only have, you know, 3 weapons. Some don't even have runes because I'm lazy. But, you know, runes are tricky, and I haven't invested too much time into runes, but as a general philosophy, I've just kind of gone, enhance what the character is good at, and if you don't know what the character is good at, give them something generic, like attack, damage, or health. So what have we got? Let's find a random one. Angelica heal is based on heal. Ra. So Ra is the tanky magician. So instead of building magicians to have damage like I have, I gave Ra health. And these health things have one of them has defense. And if I was to increase the weapon, I would give defense instead of attack. Frost Queen. So you saw Frost Queen was used for CC. Frost Queen has freeze chance because she freezes. More freeze chance the better. The next free would probably be freeze, not freeze duration. So usually it would be freeze duration, but because the freeze explode only deals damage at the end of a freeze, or if you overwrite the freeze with a new freeze, then it deals damage. So freeze duration can be good if you overwrite the freeze, but freeze duration is bad to deal damage. So, you know, there's really bespoke things like that that you have to just make note of. A brawler, like I said earlier, brawlers, you know, the more they hit without being stunned, frozen, or pushed back, the more damage they do. So maybe you want to put some resist on them. And the resist reduces the chance of being stunned, frozen, etc. And, you know, that's the best advice I've got for runes. Someone out there has got a better advice for runes. Runes came out quite late, and I still haven't really gotten the chance to play around them. They're very powerful in Arena and PvP, like Guild Wars, and I should definitely look at them more for those. But for staging, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So yeah, that has to be everything now. There is nothing that I haven't covered. I was free to play up until like a week ago, where I got a £10 gift voucher and spent that on rip chests. So technically I have only spent, I think it was £7 on this game, and that was from a gift card, so I still consider myself to be free to play. So I'll leave you with stats. These are my stats if you care. If you don't, okay. Yeah. 424 days played. 13 billion prisms. 784 ascends. Don't be afraid to, you know, ascend early. And my solo ranking, if you're curious, is, I think I'm top, yeah, last time I checked I was top 2000, so I've gone up another, you know, 500-ish. I'm getting there. Our guild, which, you know, unless you're naughty and have stolen this video from somewhere, you should be in. I think our guild is top 200-ish, generally. 318 in power. But I think generally in terms of boss fights, we make 200-ish, 500-ish. Maybe not. Maybe I've always remembered that wrong. But top 500 is nothing to, you know, shout at. Boo, leechers. I'm watching you, leechers. I know who you are. I know who you are. And with that, I'm going to leave you with a last bit of information. If you want to know what things are effective in what modes, you can find out here for guild bosses. You can find them here for daily dungeons. If you enter and then click on here, it tells you what's available for daily dungeons. For this, gives you staging. So everything's good in staging. For Blitz and Arena, we're not in Blitz, so it won't show me. But for Arena, I believe it's this %. Yep. Consumables, runes. Here's the fact consumables are already available in Arena is ridiculous. You can get some really OP consumables that if you want to make a good Arena push, that would be the time to use consumables. But yeah. And then there's one on Guild Wars as well. But Guild Wars, I'm pretty sure, is the same as this, apart from no consumables. I don't think consumables are available in Guild Wars, but don't quote me on that. So those are that's it. I'm ending the video. I've got things to do. I can't make this a 2-hour video. If you have any questions, let me know either via in-game message, which I will definitely see because I get notifications about, or maybe comment in the video below, which I may or may not read. But I should get notifications about those as well. Yeah, that's going to be it. Give me the feedback. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you disagree with anything. Because I'm always interested to hear other people's opinions. Occasionally in guild chat, I'd ask like Ice's opinion and Silence KO's opinions on a couple of things. Like when Guild Wars first came out, I was like, hey, Ice, Silent, have you got any ideas about how we should, you know, target Guild Wars? And, you know, had like a nice little discussion in chat. So don't be, you know, afraid to put your ideas out there and have them critiqued, and, you know, just be aware that, you know, any critique is not mean, it's constructive. So, you know, I expect that critique back as well. So, thank you all for watching. Oh my god, this was a long video. I am like an hour and a half overdue to eat my dinner. So I'm going to go do that. Thank you all for watching. Give me some feedback and stay active in the guild. Otherwise, you're getting a boot. Alright, goodbye.